It always starts the same way. He leaves early, luggage rolling down the hallway, a kiss on my cheek, and the door closing like a final note. Then comes the silence. Not just quiet, but a kind of absence that spreads into everything: meals, rooms, me. The first day is routine. I clean, I organize, I pretend I don't feel the ache. By the second day, I begin to miss the noise, his voice, even his bad jokes. And by the third, it's like he never lived here at all. The only constant is Max, our Labrador. He doesn't understand why the house goes cold every time his human leaves, but he stays close, as if guarding the hole left behind. I talk to Max more than I should. Not just commands, actual conversations. He listens with those big, round eyes, head tilting when my voice breaks or trails off. He sleeps by my side now, curled where my husband used to lie. I never planned it, it just happened. One night the bed felt too large, and he looked up at me like he was asking permission. Now it's routine. I fall asleep to the sound of his breathing. My husband texts every night. Short messages. Miss you. Long day. Sometimes just an emoji. I tell him I miss him too. I do. But words on a screen don't hold me. They don't pull me into an embrace or look into my eyes and ask how I really am. I used to fill the gaps with calls to friends, errands, online distractions. Lately, I just sit with Max. It's easier than pretending I'm not slowly shrinking. He says this project will only take 6 more weeks. He's always said that next month, next quarter, just a little longer. I've stopped asking when he'll come home and started asking myself why I wait so quietly. I didn't marry a ghost, but sometimes I feel like one. One night, the power went out. Storm winds thrashed the windows. I lit a candle and sat on the floor with Max, pressing my forehead to his. I whispered things I haven't said aloud in years. Things like, I feel invisible, and I'm scared, I don't know how to be alone anymore. He didn't answer, but he didn't leave either. That meant more than it should have. In the morning, the sun came back, but the silence stayed. The bed was warm where Max had curled beside me, but the space next to it felt even colder. My phone buzzed with a text. Still tied up. Sorry. I stared at the screen, not replying. Instead, I reached for the leash. We walked slowly, with no destination. Just the rhythm of pause and footsteps. I realized then how much I'd come to need this dog, not just for company, but for proof that someone still saw me, noticed me, needed me back. And maybe that need had started to replace something else. Something I didn't want to name yet. Of course. Here's section 2, 500 words, of the story, continuing directly with the same emotional tone and precision, staying focused, and without repetition. Max had started acting strange, pulling on the leash, barking at passing cars, ignoring commands he once followed. I blamed the change in routine, the energy he wasn't burning off. I searched for a trainer nearby, someone with decent reviews and close availability. That's how I met Daniel. He was calm, direct, and had a quiet confidence. No sales pitch, just a short nod when I opened the door and a quick assessment of Max. He's smart, he said after 5 minutes. But he's anxious. You are too. I blinked at him, unsure how to respond. It didn't feel like a comment, it felt like a diagnosis. At first, the sessions were brief. He focused on Max, and I stood by, watching, occasionally asking questions. Then he started talking more. Not about training, but small things. Weather. Music. Once, we spent 10 minutes talking about how our parents had raised dogs differently. It felt easy. Natural. I caught myself smiling without effort, the kind of smile I hadn't given anyone in months. The sessions started stretching longer. Sometimes Max would be tired out halfway through, and Daniel would stay, sipping water, asking questions. He was never intrusive. He just listened. When I told him my husband was often away, he didn't look surprised. He just said, "That must be hard," and left the silence alone long enough for me to fill it. I started noticing myself getting ready for our sessions like they were something more. Picking out nicer clothes. Checking the mirror twice. It embarrassed me, but I didn't stop. It wasn't about seduction. It was about being seen. I was tired of disappearing into myself. He noticed details. That I always tucked my hair behind my ear when I was nervous. That I spoke softer when I was tired. He didn't say much about it, just a glance here, a raised brow there, like he was reading a book I hadn't meant to hand over. One afternoon, Max trotted off to chase a squirrel and Daniel turned to me and said, "You seem lighter today." I didn't know how to respond. No one had used a word like that for me in a long time. I just smiled and said, "It's probably you. Or Max. Or the sun." He looked at me a moment longer than he should have, and something shifted in the air. That night, I replayed the conversation while lying in bed. I knew it was nothing, but I also knew it wasn't. There was no line crossed, not yet. But it was there now, right in front of me. Clear. Close. I wondered if he felt it too. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was just lonely, that I was projecting. But the way my heart beat faster when I saw his name on my phone said otherwise. And the way I looked forward to our sessions said even more. I wasn't falling for him, but something in me was waking up. Something that hadn't stirred in a very long time.
He was supposed to be home that weekend.
We talked about it all week, where we'd go, what we'd cook, how we'd finally spend a night in the same bed. I'd cleaned the house. I'd shaved my legs. I'd made plans. The call came Friday evening. Another delay.
"I'm sorry."
"I'll make it up to you." I hung up before he could finish the sentence. There was nothing left to say. I opened a bottle of wine, poured a glass, then poured another. Max lay at my feet, watching me. I felt tired of holding it together, of being reasonable, of waiting. Daniel texted to confirm our usual Saturday session. I didn't respond. The next morning he showed up anyway. Said he figured Max could use the consistency. I let him in without thinking. I didn't care about training that day, and he must have seen it in my face. We sat on the porch after Max tired himself out. He asked if I was okay. I said no. He didn't push. Just handed me the glass of wine I didn't remember asking for. I drank it fast. "I don't know who I am when he's gone," I said. "Sometimes I feel like I belong more to this dog than to him." Daniel didn't laugh. He didn't flinch. He just looked at me like he saw something I wasn't ready to admit. "You deserve more than absence," he said. Simple.
Clear.
The kind of sentence that wraps around your ribs and doesn't let go. I turned away, but his hand was already reaching. Not grabbing. Just resting gently on mine. I didn't move. My breath caught, not from surprise but from recognition. This had been building quietly for weeks. Now it was here. The kiss wasn't impulsive. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, careful, like both of us knew we couldn't go back. When it deepened, I didn't stop it. When he pulled me toward him, I followed.
We didn't speak.
There was no need. The silence between us was louder than anything else. Everything about it felt wrong, but nothing in me resisted. I didn't think about my husband. I didn't think about consequences. I just felt, wanted, whole, present. Afterward, I sat on the edge of the couch, heart racing, shame crawling up my throat. He asked if I was okay. I nodded, but I wasn't. I couldn't even look at Max. He had curled up near us, quiet still. I felt like I'd betrayed more than just a marriage. Daniel stood to leave. He didn't ask what this meant. He didn't offer comfort. Maybe he knew there was nothing he could say that would fix what we'd done. I followed him to the door, said nothing, and locked it behind him. In the silence that followed, I pressed my forehead to the wood and whispered, "What did I just do?" The words hung in the air, unanswered. Of course. Here's section 4, 500 words, concluding the story with emotional clarity and a morally complex tone, keeping everything tight, fresh, and grounded. He came home 3 days later, smiling like nothing had changed. He brought flowers, a joke, a suitcase full of guilt I couldn't see. I smiled back like I hadn't done anything wrong. I hugged him like I hadn't just slept with another man. I played the part because I had to, because he never saw the space that had grown between us. That night, we ate dinner together. He asked about Max, about the yard, about whether I'd remembered to pay the water bill. I answered every question without hesitation. I laughed in the right places. I kissed him goodnight. I let him hold me, and when he touched me, I didn't pull away. But something in me had already left. I felt it when I closed my eyes. I was somewhere else with someone else, and I hated how easily I could live in two places at once. The next morning, Daniel texted. Just one line. Hope you're okay. I stared at it for 5 minutes before deleting it. I didn't reply.
I didn't need to.
The silence said more than I wanted it to. I stopped the training sessions. I told him Max was doing better. He didn't argue. We both knew the real reason. There was nothing left to train. Nothing left to say. But the memory didn't go away. It followed me into every room. It sat next to me during breakfast, watched me fold laundry, lingered while I showered. I didn't miss Daniel. I missed who I became around him. The version of me that felt seen, touched, alive. That version vanished the second my husband walked through the door. I started noticing things about my husband I hadn't before. The way he looked through me when I spoke. The way he only touched me out of habit. The way he said, "I love you," like he was checking a box. I wondered how long he'd been gone even while physically here. I wondered if he'd notice if I disappeared in plain sight. Max never looked at me the same way either. He followed me, stayed near, but there was something different in his eyes. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe not. Animals have a way of knowing what humans try to hide. One evening, we walked past the park where Daniel used to meet us. His truck wasn't there. But I saw him through a window, inside his place alone. He looked up. Our eyes met. Neither of us smiled. I kept walking. I don't regret it. I regret how easy it was. I regret how quickly I learned I was capable of betrayal. But I don't regret the truth it revealed, that I had been invisible long before I made the choice to be seen. Now, I sleep beside a man who believes everything is fine. I wake up in a house that feels quieter than ever. And I take walks with a dog who knows more than he should. Some mistakes echo.
Others settle in.
This one did both.